Hello, welcome to this week's Virtual Office Hours with the University of Miami Learning Platforms Team. We are Bill Vilberg, Brett Stevens, Rick Ramos, and Michael Bonanno. And this week's agenda: SafeAssign with Michael, spring cleaning, improving a Blackboard course site with Bill. Quick introduction on using the Collaborate interface. We've got a couple of areas to point out here: the audio and video panel, the participants panel, the chat panel, and the content area. In the audio and video panel, you of course have the video if that's being shown by the person talking, the talk and video toggles, as well as a preview video button. Then we have sliders for both the microphone and audio volumes. And then in participants panel, a couple of quick things: emoticons, toggle for away status, raising hand, and polling buttons, and then list of participants. And in the chat panel, you have your text here. You chat there. Then in the content area, we have the whiteboard, application sharing, and web tour tools. And that about wraps up using the Collaborate interface. Any comments or questions? Moving on to SafeAssign with Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
Hello. SafeAssign is a system built into Blackboard for both preventing plagiarism and promoting proper attribution. It compares any assignments that are submitted through the system against a set of academic papers to identify areas of overlap between the submitted assignment and existing works. So what this means is SafeAssign cannot definitively tell you what is plagiarism or not, but it checks for originality, and it can tell you if work is an exact copy of some other work or paraphrased. However, it does not look in the attributions and determine if the work is proper, if the student had properly attributed, So we can't tell exactly that if something is plagiarism or not. You also can't tell if something may be just common knowledge. It may be an exact wording from several other sources. So how does SafeAssign work? There's 5 things here. It is a type of an assignment. So if you're familiar with Blackboard assignments, it does most things that assignments do. It detects exact and inexact matches between a paper and the source material. You can activate it in the content area from the assessments menu. After works are submitted, it creates an originality report, and that report is optionally available to students. Now that's the basics of it. I'll go through these in a little more detail and give you a little more detail as we go through them. Now, like I said, the first thing, SafeAssign is a type of assignment. So what is an assignment in Blackboard? Well, the assignment tool allows 3 things basically: assignment submission, collection, and grading. And assignments can be added to any content area, learning module, or lesson plan. In this virtual office hours, we're going to stick to just talking about content areas. Assignments can have multiple submissions. So students can submit. You can set it up so they can submit multiple times. For example, they can have drafts. And then assignments are automatically added to a column in the Grade Center. So that is where the Grade Center is the place where you can collect the assignments. And once assignments can be individual or group, so students can work on them as a group, and if they're done as a group, you enter one grade, the entire group gets the same grade. Now, like I said, safe assignment is a type of an assignment, but there are some key differences. As I said, you can have multiple attempts with a regular assignment. You cannot with SafeAssign. There are a few other things. You can have anonymous grading, inline grading, and groups with regular assignments and rubrics, but none of those things with safe assignments. However, you can, there is one sort of exception to the multiple attempts. You can create a separate safe assign and call it a draft, which would potentially allow a student to submit work and see the safe assign report. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Now, the second part of the definition is where I said it detects an exact and inexact matches between a paper and source material. Well, how does it do that? Whenever a paper is submitted, it's submitted to Blackboard servers. They are also added to the institutional database. So that is here the University of Miami, we have our own institutional database hosted by Blackboard, and all papers submitted to SafeAssign are added to the institutional database. Now, when those papers are submitted, they are checked against these four areas: the internet, this ProQuest ABI Inform database, and then the University of Miami's institutional document archives, and then a global reference database, and that is papers that have been submitted at other institutions. Basically, those are places where people have volunteered to submit papers. Now, one thing that people often ask is, can other languages be used with SafeAssign? And the answer is no. The official wording there is that SafeAssign makes decisions based on sentence structure, word frequency, and other linguistic characteristics that are specific to the English language. So, once again, this SafeAssign is only going to be useful for English language submissions. The next part, safe assignments are activated in a content area, and you create them from the assessments menu. So if you are in a course, you can create a content area. In this case, I've created a content area called Safe Assignments. And once you go into once you click on that, you'll see a Safe Assignment area. And the menu will include several choices, including the traditional assignment right here, and then Safe Assignment over here. If you choose Safe Assignment, if you choose to create a new Safe Assignment, you'll be taken to this screen right here. And there you can see if you're familiar with assignments, there are some similarities. You can name the assignment. You can tell how many points are in the assignment. So if you're using the Grade Center, Blackboard can calculate the overall grades. And you can set a due date, give the students instructions. And then down here, you can add a few more Safe Assign specific things. So this one, make the assessment available, is kind of important. Do you want the student to be able to view the assessment? That could be, it's possible. Some people will not want the students to view the assessments, especially because if you were to if you were to allow multiple submissions or to allow a student to resubmit a paper, there's a potential for a student to be able to try to game the system by simply changing words to make the assessment, to make SafeAssign not catch the assessment, or to make SafeAssign not catch the plagiarism. But in general, that tool can also, the assessment can be helpful to the students, and the students can actually go to the Writing Center, where they can take papers that they've done and have the Writing Center submit them to SafeAssign for them, and then by going over they can get the report and go over it with staff from the Writing Center. Now, like I said, there's a few other things. You can set the dates that the assignments are available, and you can set whether or not you can decide whether or not something is a draft. In this case, if you set it as a draft, you are basically just letting the student submit the report and check the assessment. Check the assessment before submitting the real assignment. If you do check this draft box, then you would have to create two safe assignments, one for the draft and one for the full document. Urgent checking, I'm not sure exactly how much effect this has, but Blackboard says it will put it in a high priority queue to complete the check, to complete the originality check quicker. Now, generally they don't take very long, but short papers could take 1 or 2 minutes. Some papers could take a bit longer, but they generally don't take that long. Now the next part is the originality report. Now SafeAssign, this is the big difference between an assignment, a regular assignment, and a SafeAssign assignment. When you go into course tools from your control panel, you can see there's a tool called SafeAssign, and SafeAssign will, when you click on SafeAssign, you'll be taken to this screen. And at this screen, you can click Safe Assignments to get the list of safe assignments for the course, or you can do click Direct Submit. And this is where you can take a paper that you are not submitting to the Grade Center and just do a one-off submission. This is so if for some reason you have an assignment, you can also submit a paper for a paper that you may have written. You can directly submit it into the institutional database using Direct Submit. And once again, this is where students could go to the Writing Center and have a paper direct submitted for them, so it can be checked for originality. But for the most part, you will probably want to be clicking on this link, and then you would see the list of safe assigns in this course. So in this demo course here, I set up two assignments, a research paper and a final paper. When you click on the contextual menu for either one, you would see these two choices. View submissions will take you to this screen where you will get a list of all of the submissions in the course. Now, as you can see, I have a test user here that has actually submitted a paper, and it is a 100% match. So this was actually a case where I I submitted a paper that I had submitted earlier, so it makes a 100% match of itself. And I'll show you how we can work around that in a little bit. One other thing, this is from this page, you can also download all the files. If you want to grade them, if you want to print them out separately, you can also view them online, and we'll get to that. Once you click the SafeAssign report, this screen will come up. And this is an example. This paper that I'm using was a paper from my 6th grade son. So the top, as you can see, right now it says it's 100% not original content. So what happened here was I submitted the paper twice, and 3 things have showed up. First, down here we can see there are 3 different potential plagiarism issues on this paper. The first one is, it says, this is called the citation area. On the citation area of the report, it says everything in yellow here matches another student's paper. In this case, it matches a previous submission by the same student. So this is not really helpful. And down here, we see number 2, there's a match. There is a match here, but it's a match of just one sentence that is pretty much probably common knowledge of anyone with of people in biology, in the biology field. So that probably doesn't seem to be a terribly big problem. But down here we see this other bigger issue, and it says this large area here is also copied. It is potentially this is non-original content, and this definitely is not. This definitely is unoriginal content, because I found this from a paper on the internet and copied and pasted it into the middle of this other paper, and sure enough, the SafeAssign report found it. Now, like I said, one of the things you may want to do if a paper was submitted twice, you may want to rerun the report without the paper, the original paper. So you can click right here where it says select sources and resubmit. The screen will change a little bit, and you could unselect this box, click the resubmit button, and then the report will rerun. Now it looks quite different this time. The colors are different, but you can see this area right here still shows up as unoriginal content. Some of these other areas you may want to check, because some of them may be just common knowledge. However, other things may be exact duplicates of other work, and you may want to investigate them a little more. Finally, the last thing I wanted to reiterate was that the report is optionally available to students, and if you had checked the box that said to make it viewable to students, when the student logs into their course and they go to the content area where you put the safe assignments, they click on the report after they've submitted it, and after the report has been generated, they'll see this screen right here, and they'll be able to see that they've this is 71% matched, and they'll be able to click on the button and see the same report that you were just seeing. Now, if you go, in just one final note, as with any other assignment, the SafeAssign paper shows up in the Grade Center. And this paper by my Test 3 user shows up down here. The yellow asterisk indicates that it needs grading, that the paper is there, it needs grading. You can simply you can click on it or any of the other papers that have been submitted and enter your grades right there through the Grade Center. Just one quick thing I want to demo. I just want to show the originality report a little bit more about how it works. And just a second. I'm getting my browser up. And there it is. Okay, can everyone see my browser? Okay. I think I have one check mark. Yes. Okay. Great. All right. So here I have. I'm logged in as the professor. I can see the SafeAssign report for the test user. If I go over here, click the little checkbox, the report does show up. As I was, I can, in this case, I can see this giant area looks disturbing. It looks like a bunch of plagiarism, and I can click on this report, click this button, which will actually open the reports. And in this case, it's a fairly lengthy document, so I could grab a selection of this and see if I could, find the text. And if I did, it definitely would happen. I would find this text in find this direct text in the report. And as I was saying earlier, you can simply click that box to decide, well, I don't want to check this paper against itself, so I can simply uncheck the box and resubmit. And then that paper will be resubmitted to SafeAssign. And within a few minutes, it will be ready again. I can go back to my my SafeAssign report, and I'll be able to see it. I doubt if it will be ready yet, but this is how I would find it. And no, that one is not ready yet. But within a few minutes, it probably will be, or it definitely will be. So that is about everything that we have under SafeAssign. Once again, the things I wanted to reiterate that SafeAssign is a type of assignment, a special type that can do a few things differently than a regular assignment. But the main thing is it checks for content originality, and it checks against a pretty extensive database of content all around the world and within the university. And you can create it in any content area in Blackboard. And the key feature of it is the originality report, which is available to you and optionally to your students. Now, are there any questions?
Yeah, Michael, this is Bill. It looked like, and I apologize I didn't get this to you faster, like when you were going over the highlighted content, like each sentence was being turned into a link or something. Do you know, can you click on the sentence? Do you then see the two in context or something, or what happens?
Okay. Let me go back to the browser and let's see. Okay, the report is now, the new report is now done. And yes, as you roll over it, what? Okay, that was, sorry I didn't mention that earlier. When you do click over the sentences, it will show the source that it believes it came from. So as you can see here, this case looks fairly close. It looks like it might be paraphrased. It's not a cut and paste example. So this is one of those little gray areas. And once again, the same thing. You can see it's not an exact match. So this is what they were. This is one of the reasons why Blackboard said this is specific to the English language, in that they have algorithms to determine, to try to catch sort of simple paraphrasing. So does that answer your question, Bill?
Yeah, that looks like a great tool to begin to understand what's going on, sentence by sentence. So it's probably best done when you don't have a lot of colored text.
Yeah, but I mean, even like in this case, actually, in this area, which was a direct cut and paste, it's actually very useful because, as you can see, you're going to see exact matches, sentence for sentence. You'll see that's the exact same words, and you'll, if you get into a situation like that, 100% match, you're going to realize that if this is not attributed to someone, this is plagiarism. So it's a pretty useful feature and saves a lot of time because you can like analyze it sentence by sentence instantly.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. I think that means that, Bill, we're going over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to talk about spring cleaning. Oh, Mike,
oh,
get your hand up. What would you like? Let's see. If I probably turned off your microphone because you're getting a little bit of feedback. So your microphone's back on, Michael.
Oh. Hello? Hello, Mike?
Mike Milankovich.
Oh, Mike, do you have a question? Perhaps not. Okay, one more time, Mike. Do you have a question?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. Okay, there we go. I just clicked on. I'm supposed to click on my microphone. I got it now. I was asking because I've used SafeAssign several times, and one of the frustrations is to knowing what the threshold is. You get them all over the place. You get them from 2% to 100%, and I don't have a formula for this. Obviously, if it's over 50%, I take a closer look at it, and I guess depending on the student's work in the past, if it's less than 10%, I'll let it go. But I don't know what the formula is between 10% and 50% to look more closely. And quite frankly, if you did this with every one of your papers, especially in graduate courses, you could spend days, if not weeks, checking this out. So the question is, what's a threshold number when it comes off of SafeAssign that you can assume needs to be more closely investigated?
Okay, well, I can give you the what Blackboard suggestions are.
Okay, that's good.
And you can tell me how this fits with your reality. Blackboard says generally scores below 15% are probably okay. Scores between 15 and 40%. These papers include extensive quoted or paraphrased material, or may include plagiarism. And over 40% is where they say there's a very high probability of plagiarism in the paper, or excess paraphrasing or excess quoted material.
Yeah, that's good.
If you get to the point where it's extremely high, however, it's like probably 90% or higher, then it's most likely a case where the same paper has been submitted.
I had one a couple of years ago, and the whole thing was just taken off of Wikipedia. So that was a kind of an easy case.
Okay.
The harder ones are in the 10 to 15 range. But it does work, by the way, your suggestion when you give it back to them, and they do their own kind of police work. And I give them a chance to rewrite it, and in most cases they'll clean them up. The better students will clean them up. But anyway, thank you very much for those guidelines.
Okay. All right. Now I think we're ready for Bill to talk about spring cleaning.